So I said it right back.
Folks need to understand, at least in part, why it's taking place. The delay in the arrest of the officer who put his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes, the last 2 minutes and 53 seconds, George Floyd was unresponsive. You still kept your knee on his neck. As far as I'm concerned, he should have been charged with murder. I'm glad that he was. Number two, the two officers that were seen from a different angle and shown on various cable networks, those two officers, as far as I'm concerned, should be charged with murder.
It's Cofield and Company.
Number three, the officer that was standing around that wasn't leaning his body, his knee, or anything else on George Floyd's anatomy. Even though he was on the lookout, he was complicit. He should be arrested immediately.
Idea. It's a total mystery.
So she's behind it. Day of Reckoning.
Sure. Definitely.
It's an old song, but that was the sentiment.
She foresaw.
It was actually a song about abusive men, women fighting back.
I didn't know.
It's been kind of morphed into a patriotic song, but it was independence from getting your ass kicked.
Oh, is that kind of like
by an abusive male?
Kind of like Born in the USA, the Bruce Springsteen. Like it's been hijacked into a pro-America song.
Yeah, that one's not exactly pro-America. So strong stuff from Stephen A. on the way back. Again, we've had 6,000 people arrested now in the protest, and the other three officers in the George Floyd case have not been arrested.
Yeah.
A little weird. Stephen A. calling for them to be arrested and hit with serious charges. I'll give credit to Mark Davis, the Raiders owner. He's now our owner here. He's our highest profile owner in Las Vegas. And I haven't seen a lot of owners going on local radio or TV and leaving themselves open for 10 minutes. And that's what Mark Davis did this morning with Clay and Ed on the press box. Here's a little Mark Davis just kind of setting up the situation. And again, as you can hear him, the wheels are turning and he's trying to come up with the right things to say. But I just appreciate the fact that while many other owners are just going to hide for the next couple of weeks and not say anything, and they certainly didn't say anything verbally when Colin Kaepernick was trying to shine a light on this 3 years ago, they did it through action. They won't admit they did it, blackballing the guy from the league. But here's Mark Davis.
We have to come up with solutions. And I think that starts on the local level. I don't think you can do it any other way. And I reached out to Attorney General Aaron Ford and Sheriff Joe Lombardo, and they were very open to getting together with some of our players and coaches and just starting a discussion. I believe it's important that the Raiders coming to a new market, to a new area, coming to the Valley here, that we start off on the right foot. And I think we can build something really great between the community, the team, and have it flow throughout the community here.
And of all the organizations in pro sports, I trust the Raiders to do that. I think he will try.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's something they've always been consistent on. His dad was a trailblazer, generally would push back on the league on important issues. You'll hear it later. He said, my dad wasn't a big words guy in these cases. It was action.
Right.
And I think you'll see a lot of Raiders start speaking about this. I think you'll see Las Vegas Raiders, I almost called them Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders out in the mix with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I was glad to see Derek Carr, as a QB, which it seems like most of the quarterbacks, those are the power brokers of the NFL. Were very unwilling to speak the last 3 years. And finally, enough's enough. So that right there was a stamp of approval by Mark Davis to say, we want to be active in this whole thing. We want to try to push forth change.
Yeah, I think definitely. And part of, we talked about last week even how much former players are still involved in the organization, are still part of the organization, and still, represent the organization on a lot of different topics and issues and things and are part of the community. And I think that helps too. And that you have a lot of former players, especially several very prominent African American players who are kind of the face of the organization and the Raiders family, and I think that will help them try to build whatever bridges they want to try to build. And I think that's going to be important. It's communication. It's making systemic changes, but it's also trying to figure out exactly the best way forward in a lot of different ways. And I think that will be something that the Raiders try to do. Whether they're able to do it or whether they're able to make significant strides, I don't know. But I think the effort is huge. If you have a genuine effort, and I trust from hearing Mark Davis and from reading what he wrote and everything else, like I trust the effort is going to be there, and that's such a big part of this.
Well, throughout my youth being around the Raiders and football, I never really saw color. Every year there were new players on the roster, players from the South, some from the Deep South, others from the North, all over the country. I got to see and hear different points of view, all coming together for a common cause, and that was to be a Raider. Back in the day, my father had black and white teammates rooming together in training camp, on the road. It just was never an issue in being the Raiders. I sympathize with the players, and when they have something to say, I've always said to them that I'll be there with them, by their side. Initially, last year, now it's not last year, but it was back in 2017, when the kneeling for the national anthem issue was up, I initially told the players that I prefer that they wouldn't speak out against things while they were in Raider uniform. And I felt that being a Raider was just that. And that if they had something to say and they took off their uniform, they could say something. But certain things happen and in society and in real life, and it made me change my opinion on that. I think if the players can make a difference, and if they can say something that will bring more discussion around an issue, they're right to go ahead and do it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Super important. Let's go, other owners.
Yeah.
Mark Davis just admitted, hey, you know what? I wasn't comfortable with guys speaking up about the Kaepernick situation in a Raiders uniform. Things have changed. Things have happened. He's basically admitting he was wrong.
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
And that's a big step. No question
and
about it.
That's how we start. And I'm not going to go at anyone who has changed their mind and, continue to pound them like, well, you made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
He's admitting he doesn't have to do that. And, I was just doing a search. Please tweet at us. Who are the other owners who have done radio or TV interviews for 10 minutes speaking on these issues? Who are they? I haven't seen anyone else. Maybe there's been 10 and I don't know about it, but I just did a search. It's like, hey, NFL owner speaks on protest. Mark Davis. And then after that, it's just national anthem stuff from years ago.
Of course. Yeah, I don't think you're going to find many. And here's another big thing that he said there, which this is an argument that I had with my grandfather like so many times growing up, because he talked about being a part of, protest movements back, in his day. And he said, I don't see color. And you heard Mark Davis say that too. I understand now more as I've grown up, like why somebody would say that and why they think that's helpful, but it's not. And I think he's almost realizing now too, like the I don't see color thing is not realistic. It's just not. And it's also not acknowledging that other people that were born the same as you, except that they just happen to be a different color, have a different experience in life. And if you're saying I don't see color, everybody's the same to me, you're not acknowledging that. And it's just the reality of the situation we live in. It's the world we live in it's just not a helpful thing to say in my mind that I don't see color. That's just not, it's not a real thing.
Tommy Smith in 1968 making that statement, I still think we're in the same place that we were really when it comes to that. There's obviously been progress in many areas, but there's so much more progress that needs to be done. I have a lot of good friends on the Oakland Police Force. They have been special people. They really are really good people. And I think, people misunderstand it's us versus them, because it's really not. I think police have one of the toughest jobs there is in keeping us safe at all times. Sometimes they're being judged by the actions of the few, and I don't think that's fair either.
Yep. And the same goes the other way.
Yeah.
There are lots of peaceful protesters, and the morons are staining the peaceful protesters. And you saw it. I mean, there's constantly this test, where law enforcement is put to the test because someone's screaming right in their face. It's like, go back a couple of weeks ago. The same thing happened with the Michigan State house. You've got a guy just screaming, "Ah!" right in an officer's face. It's an effort to freaking trigger someone.
And that guy had a gun, and it was treated differently. But yeah, and it is amazing.
I just want to build on something he said at the end there. He had a great relationship with the Oakland Police Department. This is probably the case in every city with NFL teams. They have good relationships. They've got a voice. Use the voice, right? Again, I will keep pushing. Get out on the streets. Because I got to tell you, if you've got a couple of rogue cops who are freaking out and they're shooting rubber bullets at someone, Jerry Jones gets hit in the side of the head with a rubber bullet. How's that going to go over? We're going to get responses. Well, Jerry didn't listen. He didn't go where he's supposed to go. If you really want to help the situation, get out there.
Yeah.
Go out there with your players. Go out there and speak to the protesters. Speak to law enforcement. Be part of it. This can be civil. But I'm telling you, the most powerful voices in sports are kind of trickling in, and the richest people in sports are, a trickle would be insulting. Yeah. They're not even close to the situation right now. And listen, I don't know what Mark Davis will do, but my guess is if you threw that at him, Mark Davis would probably go out, in a situation where he'd feel mostly safe. If that's possible, Mark Davis would get out there and take part.
ESPN Las Vegas is the home of the Raiders fan.
We're ready for some football. The home of the Raiders.